One of the dumbest things that I've heard so far came from the mouth of Bomani Jones. We're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about who got cut, who made the team. We're going to look at the roster today. Welcome to the 49ers Camelot Show. I'm your host, Marc Adams. I'm one of the 49ers Web Zone writers. And today I wrote a story based on some talking points from Bomani Jones, formerly of ESPN, when he went on KNBR on Monday, and he said some crazy things about Kyle Shanahan. So let's get into this. And by the way, if you would take a minute to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, wherever you're listening, whether it's audio podcasts or whether you're watching on YouTube or whatever. Make sure that you take a minute and to like, subscribe, follow, all those things. That really helps us out. So thanks for doing that. And thank you for watching. So here's the thing. Bomani Jones obviously was asked on KNBR. He was on with Tom Tolbert and Ray Ratto, and he was asked about the Trey Lance situation. And so Jones said that it's all Shanahan's fault, that in fact, he said he's getting off easy. But and then he said that he may have broken Trey Lance. So here's what he said: where Kyle loses me, and what I just can't understand, is the Sam Darnold backup thing. If you want to start Purdy, I get that. That makes sense. I personally cannot imagine being invested in someone enough to give up all they did to get Lance in the first place and then bail on him so Sam Darnold could be your backup quarterback, especially if your whole thing is, I just want a guy that can drop back and rip it. But you wanted Kirk Cousins, the guy who throws short of the sticks on fourth in the season on the line. And Sam, I'm seeing Ghost Darnold. Here was the big kicker to me. Bomani Jones said, and for his own sake, he's talking about Kyle Shanahan, for his own sake, I hope everything goes the way it's supposed to, because if they have another one of those injury-ravaged years that they've been good to have, and they don't make the playoffs, I'd fire Kyle Shanahan before he could get to the locker room for the last game of the year. Man. And so Tolbert was obviously caught off guard by this, and he said, you would fire Kyle Shanahan? And Jones said, in a heartbeat. You're not winning a Super Bowl without an answer to your quarterback situation. In 7 years in, with plenty of opportunities to come up with these solutions, he has failed at every turn. He went on to say, I personally don't want a coach that that I can't trust a talented quarterback with. And this is the second time a highly talented quarterback has been left with Shanahan. The first one left broken. I'm assuming he's talking about Robert Griffin III. And the second one just got traded for prices that make it seem like he got broken too. So then the question was raised, like, who made this decision to select Trey Lance? And Ray Ratto said that clearly it's Shanahan. And Bomani Jones said that he has been led to believe that John Lynch is the one who made that decision. So here's what he said. The reason I would lean toward the idea of firing is because if it was John Lynch's idea, if I give you a quarterback, figure it out, and he never seemed to have a real investment in figuring it out. And that's the part that makes me nervous about him. If I'm, around this team and thinking about the future of it, it's like, are we going to have to deal with mediocre talent at quarterback forever? Because that's the only thing our head coach can ride out with. So these are really strong statements from Bomani Jones saying that Kyle Shanahan messed up this whole situation. And sure, he didn't handle it well. But to say that he should be fired if the 49ers don't make the playoffs, it's just kind of crazy to be talking like that, because no, Kyle Shanahan does not need to be fired if the 49ers miss the playoffs. If they miss the playoffs and it's because Brock Purdy isn't playing well, then there's no guarantee that Trey Lance was going to be any better. So maybe they should have tried to keep Jimmy Garoppolo instead. But I totally disagree that he needs to be fired if they don't make the playoffs. Now, speaking of Garoppolo, he sat down with Robin Lundberg of Sports Illustrated, and was asked about the Trey Lance situation. So Garoppolo said, weird situation. Been a lot of weird situations over there in San Francisco. I'll just leave it at that. But I'm happy Trey got another shot. I'm happy he's going to Dallas, gets another opportunity, and hopefully things work out there. So then the host of this show asked how he thinks the 49ers have handled their quarterback situations. And Garoppolo kind of smiled and said, "How do you think they've handled them?" So when Lundberg said, "I think that how I would describe it as messy," then Garoppolo said, "That's a nice way to put it." So Garoppolo's throwing a little bit of shade at the 49ers, or at least at Kyle Shanahan, um, calling it a weird situation, that there's a lot of weird things that go on there, and not answering the question about how they've handled this. And then when the host described it as messy, Garoppolo saying that's a nice way to put it. So I don't think Garoppolo's real happy with the 49ers. And, I still haven't read this article by Tim Kawakami in The Athletic. I plan to go and read that, but evidently it hits on how bad the relationship between Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan got. So, yeah, Shanahan has a history of not always having the best relationship with his quarterbacks. And there have been other head coaches, successful head coaches that were like that as well. So I'm not overly concerned about it, but yeah, if the 49ers flame out, if they don't make the playoffs, then there's probably going to be some heat on Kyle Shanahan. But I totally disagree with what Bomani Jones said. Kyle Shanahan should not be fired if the 49ers miss the playoffs. But maybe you have a different view of that, and you can jump in here and tell me what your view of it is. So I'm going to jump into some of the cuts that were made today. I'm not going to go through every single cut because the 49ers pared down their 90-man roster to 53. And so I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but I'm just going to hit on just a handful of them. So Jason Poe is one who was cut. Tay Martin was cut, which that kind of bummed me out because I like Tay Martin. I like what I've seen from him, and was hoping that maybe he'd make the team. Jack Coletto is a fan favorite. He didn't make the team, and so Matt Barrows wrote that the 49ers would love to have Jack Coletto back on the practice squad, but remember, the Jets, Dolphins, Seahawks, Broncos, and Chiefs were also gunning for him at the end of the draft. So Coletto is going to have some other teams really trying to get him. The Jets and the Dolphins obviously run the same offense the 49ers run, so they're going to certainly be interested in him. Broncos, so there you have Sean Payton. The Chiefs, obviously, with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And then the Seahawks, of course, the Seahawks are going to want somebody who played for the 49ers. That's just how they are. But yeah, I'd love to see Jack Coletto get back on the 49ers practice squad. Who knows if that's going to happen? There are some other teams that are going to be going after him. So Deshaun Jameson, man, this one was disappointing. I really had high hopes for Jameson to be on the roster this season. And so right now that's not looking like it's going to happen. Hopefully they'll bring him back on the practice squad. I'd love to see that because the kid has a lot of potential. Kind of bummed me. I wonder if the fact that Jameson put the ball on the ground a couple of times, maybe if that had anything to do with it, but we'll have to see. Quantrez Knight, here's another one that kind of surprised me. Quantrez has been having a really good training camp, good preseason, and so a lot of people are really high on him. Matt Mayoko said that he remains an option to return to the practice squad if he clears waivers. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting one to watch as well. Jeff Deeney posted that Quantrez Knight had the highest grade, 83.7, of any 49ers defensive back in the preseason. And Barrow said that Knight was hitting everything that moved. And so that's the kind of guy that you want, somebody like Quantrez Knight, who is playing that well. So James says Kyle has lost all credibility with the media. I can get that you can't be 100% honest with us, but this dude is lucky to hit 5%. The fan base isn't stupid. The way he's been so negligent with picks and injuries. I don't know if I totally agree that he's been honest 5% of the time. I think that John Lynch has a problem with not being dishonest. I think that John Lynch can't lie. He seems to really struggle with that, which is a rare characteristic for a general manager. Kyle, yeah, he probably sometimes isn't fully honest, but yeah, he didn't handle the whole Trey Lance situation the right way. Let's see. James said, "Is do or die time. No more excuses from this front office." Yeah, it's time to go win that 6th Lombardi and see what they can do from this point on. Hopefully this team's going to come together and really do some great things. So let's continue on with the list of those that got cut. So Ilm Manning was cut. This was surprising because I thought that Nick Zakelj was horrible, and I was hoping that Zakelj would be nowhere near this team, but he actually made the roster. And I'm going to go through the roster here in just a minute. But the fact that Nick Zakelj made it over Ilm Manning, man, that's got to be an experience thing because Manning way outplayed Zakelj. Nick Zakelj was just terrible the whole preseason. Marcelino McCrary-Ball, this surprised me a lot. I actually predicted that Marcelino McCrary-Ball would be that third linebacker, that he would take the place of Azeez Al-Shaair. I was wrong, obviously. Maybe he will down the road, although Jalen Graham and D. Winters both made the team. So that's great news for them, but that's bad news for Marcelino McCrary-Ball. So I don't know if they're going to try to bring him back to the practice squad. Maybe they will. Matt Mayoko did say that Ilm Manning, that they would like to, the 49ers would like to get him on the practice squad. So that's good news. But yeah, kind of surprised about McCrary-Ball. Leroy Watson was cut as well. And this is a kid with a lot of athletic ability. He has the body, the build, the athletic ability to play the tackle position, but just didn't make the cut. So Matt Barrows said that he's been waived, that Watson saw a lot of action this summer at both left tackle and right tackle, and seems like someone the team would like to continue to develop on the practice squad. So hopefully they'll do that, because I think that Watson has a bright future and somebody that could come in and help the team. Let's see, Isaiah Winstead, the receiver, he was cut, and that's not a surprise, but I was hoping to see a little bit more from him. Two kind of surprises were Austin Bryant and Kerry Hyder Jr. So they both were cut, but it sounds like maybe tomorrow they're going to be brought back. So it sounds like this is just a move to get the team under that number of where they're supposed to be, and that maybe tomorrow they'll bring them back. So I would not be shocked to see Austin Bryant and Kerry Hyder Jr. come back, maybe even as early as tomorrow. Cosmo said it's obvious 49ers see Graham and Winters as the future linebacker. Yeah, I totally agree with that, because Jalen Graham had he was, not only was he playing middle linebacker in training camp, which Matt Barrows said never happens for a rookie. So that shows you how quickly he caught on. But in some of the preseason games, he actually had the radio in his helmet. So he was calling plays and kind of directing traffic at times. And D. Winters just has really good skill. So I'm not surprised. I really felt like when they were drafted, I didn't think that Jalen Graham, I couldn't see him making it. But the more when they started practicing, even the rookie minicamp, from that point on, I was like, man, this guy's making it, because he's just all he's doing out there is making plays. Crazy Juice said, I believe that Marcelino McCurry-Ball, Deshaun Jameson, and Quantrez Knight should have made the roster. Yeah, I'm surprised at that too. I hope that all three end up on the practice squad because I'd hate for the team to lose those guys. A lot of talent there. They still need some development, but I think I like where they're headed with those players. So let's see. Moving on, Chris Conley, kind of surprised. I mean, I thought I do an observations piece after every game, and one of the things that I wrote about this last game was that, or maybe it was the game before, was that it seems like Chris Conley makes plays every game, and the 49ers quarterbacks seem to look to him whenever they need to get a completion. So I was kind of surprised that that he or Willie Snead, both Chris Conley and Willie Snead, both were cut, and I thought that one of them might make it, but neither of them did. Also, Troy Fumagalli was cut. He had that big first game, but really the second two preseason games was more quiet. Let's see, T.Y. McGill, kind of surprising that he didn't make it, but there's a lot of bodies along that defensive line, and so are they going to bring back Kerry Hyder Jr.? Are they going to bring back Austin Bryant? Might they bring back T.Y. McGill? So we'll see what happens with those guys. Also, Darrell Luter Jr. was put on the reserve physically unable to perform list, so he's going to be ineligible to play the first 4 games of the season. And he really didn't get in there for training camp. So hopefully he can come back after that 4th week and start practicing and maybe make some kind of impact this year, because the team really is kind of thin at the corner position. There were some players that were placed on IR. Zane Gonzalez, safety Taylor Hawkins, Cameron Latu, the rookie tight end, so this likely means that he's out for the season. AJ Parker, the cornerback. So some of these guys, or maybe even all of them, may be done for the season. I kind of doubt. Zane Gonzalez, I don't think his injury is that bad. So I'm not really sure what they're going to do with him. Taylor Hawkins, man, they need to definitely find a way to keep him. And Latu, they're going to keep. So I thought that Latu would make the team, but his injury, I think he has an MCL. I think that's what I remember seeing. And so that is that going to end his season? It very well could. So let's see. So I mentioned Kerry Hyder Jr. and Austin Bryant as procedural moves. Actually, one of the beat writers reported the 49ers plan on signing both players back to the 53-man roster tomorrow. So there you go. Those guys Hyder and Bryant should be coming back tomorrow. So that's good. Matt Barrows tweeted, for the 2nd straight year, the 49ers' final pick in the draft has made the initial roster. Jalen Graham was a quick study and spent most of training camp at demanding middle linebacker, a feat for a rookie. So yeah, good things for Jalen Graham. Some other rookies that made the team: Ronnie Bell made the team, so that's exciting. Which that was not a surprise at all. We all knew that was going to happen. Jake Moody, of course, made the team. Jair Brown, the 3rd rounder, the safety, and I already mentioned D. Winters. So a lot of good things to celebrate there, and some surprises that didn't make the team. So let's take a look real quick at what the final roster, at least not final, but as it stands right now. So Cosmo said having Warner is a huge plus for those young linebackers. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Warner's one of those guys that as a rookie was already, showing himself to be one of those guys that looked like he had been around for years. I mean, he just is a very smart football player. So really cool for those guys to be able to play behind a guy like Warner. So let's take a quick look at the roster. So at quarterback, of course, we have Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, and Brandon Allen. The running backs, McCaffrey, Juszczyk, Mitchell, Mason, and Ty Davis Price. Debo Samuel, this is the wide receivers. Debo, Ayuk, Jennings, Ronnie Bell, Ray McLeod, Danny Gray. Remember, Ray was supposed to miss a lot of time, but now they're thinking that he might be back by this first game in Pittsburgh. So we'll see. Tight end. This was a little surprising. So George Kittle, Charlie Warner. I actually thought that Charlie Warner might not make it, but I also thought that Cameron Latu would. So is Warner in there instead of Latu, or is Ross Dwelly, who made it, is he in there because of Latu? And then Braden Willis made it, which I'm excited about because I think that Braden Willis is going to be become a good tight end who can do a lot in the running game. As a blocker, he can do a lot in the passing game as a receiver. So I'm excited about Braden Willis. On the offensive line, you have the starters in Williams, Banks, Brendel, Burford, and McKivitz. And then you have Jalen Moore, who was looking terrible those first two preseason games, but then the last preseason game looked really a whole lot better. John Feliciano made the team, and Nick Zakelj, I already mentioned him. Last year, I always rode Mike McGlinchey pretty hard, but I'd rather have somebody like Mike McGlinchey. He's a tackle and Zakelj's a guard, but I'd take McGlinchey on the offensive line over Zakelj anytime. I hope that Nick Zakelj never has to play. I've probably made that clear. Defensive line. So you have Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Kevin Givens, Drake Jackson, Cleveland Ferrell, Javon Kinlaw, Robert Bill Jr., Kalia Davis. So I'm glad that Davis made the team. I knew that Robert Bill would make it because even though he hasn't done much, he has a lot of upside, but he also needs a lot of development. So I knew that he would make it. I figured Kinlaw would make it. Kalia Davis, I was hoping that he would because I think that he's potentially the closest thing they have to DJ Jones, and they really have missed DJ Jones. Let's see. The last one that's listed on here is Nick Bosa. He's listed as reserve, did not report. So when is that going to happen? Is Bosa ever going to get signed, or is he going to retire? We're going to find out that Bosa's retiring. That's not going to happen. I mean, he's not going to walk away from all that money. It's just, like last week, I think it was James that said something about maybe Bosa's waiting for the Chiefs defensive lineman to get into camp. And I had some guy that reached out to me on PSF, the Pro Sports Fans app, and say something like, I know for a fact that Chris Jones is coming back, which would be this week. And so who knows? I mean, I don't know if this guy really knows that or if he's just making things up. But I kind of doubt that Bosa's waiting on Chris Jones. I think that he's going to come in when he's going to come, whenever. I just don't know what the holdup is, but they need to get this done. Linebacker, of course, is Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Oren Burks. I think that Burks is probably going to be that third starter. Jalen Graham, D. Winters, and Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. That one surprised me. Again, I thought that Marcelino McCurry-Ball would make it over Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, but the way they've been in the preseason, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles played a lot better than Marcelino McCurry-Ball. So I think that that's why those two names are hard to say. Try saying those fast. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles and Marcelino McCurry-Ball. Those are hard to say. Cornerback, you have Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, Samuel Womack, Ambry Thomas, and Isaiah Oliver. Figured that Isaiah Oliver would make it because his contract is guaranteed, and they really expect him to do to be that guy. At least that's how it was coming into the preseason, that he was the assumed starter at that nickel corner position, but he did not look good in the preseason. So hopefully he can turn it around, but uh, I still don't know. I think they're going to. A lot of people are talking about how they're going to put Ambry Thomas on the outside, on like Diamador Lenore is going to start opposite Charvarius Ward, and then when they need to move to nickel, that Lenore is going to come inside and Ambry Thomas will be on the outside. I I don't like that idea. Um, I heard Dante Whitner on KNBR saying that he doesn't like that idea. He thinks that the other teams are going to really go after Ambry Thomas, and he just doesn't know if Ambry Thomas is up for that. I'm the same way because, I go back to that game in 2021 that the 49ers had to win. It was the last game of the season. They were against the Rams. They had to win in order to make it into the postseason. And of course they did. Some great plays by Jimmy Garoppolo and the offense to tie that game and then take the lead and in overtime. And so then you have the situation where now the Rams have the ball, and Matthew Stafford threw the ball deep to Odell Beckham Jr., and Ambry Thomas picked it off. The 49ers win. You know the story. If you go back and look at that, and I've gone back to look at it multiple times, to me, it looks like Odell Beckham Jr. had Ambry Thomas beat and Matthew Stafford underthrew it. So I don't know. I'm not the film junkie like some of these other guys are or other girls are. And so I don't know. But from what I saw, I thought that Ambry Thomas was beat and that if Stafford would have made a good throw, that maybe Odell Beckham Jr. catches that ball and scores and the 49ers lose and they don't even get into the playoffs. That's what I saw. Now you can go back and stop it and look, and maybe I haven't seen like the all 22, so I don't know that angle of it. But I just remember thinking this glimpse that I caught. Oh my gosh, Ambry Thomas just got beat, and then the ball was thrown short. He picks it off, and the game's over. So I don't have a lot of confidence in Ambry Thomas. I know that he came on strong at the end of that year, and he gets credit for that interception. But I am concerned about Ambry Thomas being on the opposite side of Charvarius Ward. At safety, it's Talanoa Hufanga, Tashawn Gibson, Jair Brown, and George Odom. No surprise there. And special teams, Jake Moody, Mitch Wishnowsky, and Tabor Pepper. So what do you think about the roster? What do you think about who was cut? What do you think about the comments from Bomani Jones that if the 49ers don't make the playoffs, Kyle Shanahan should be fired? What do you think about those? I think that comment's ridiculous. Kyle's had too much success. Now, if they miss the playoffs and then they keep missing the playoffs and Trey Lance becomes a star and Brock Purdy fizzles out, then I think that you're going to be looking at somebody's seat who's really hot. So what's up, Kali? Is that how you Kali? Mr. Young, Mark, just subscribe, brother. Love your work and content. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I've seen you before. I've seen you on some maybe some other podcasts that I was on, and you jumped in and talked to us. So it's cool to see you. So tell me what y'all think about this roster. You don't have to do it right now, but I'm curious what you're thinking about that. What do you think about what Bomani Jones said? Just a crazy. It's been a crazy almost week. So, tomorrow is the day that we found out that Sam Darnold was the number 2 and that Trey Lance was being shopped. And so that kind of set everything off. And then it kind of was a little quieter on Thursday, and then Friday, obviously Trey Lance gets traded to the Dallas Cowboys. And so it's been kind of crazy ever since then. So that's all that I have, unless anybody else has something to jump in here with. But appreciate you watching. Please take a minute to like the video, and wherever you're watching from or listening from, make sure you rate, review, and follow the 49ers Camelot Show. Y'all have a great rest of your day. I may be back in here tomorrow with some other things, but we'll see. Working on a mailbag for 49ers Web Zone. So I'll be coming out with that and then coming on here as well real soon. So good show. Thanks, Cosmo. Appreciate that. So yeah, hope to see y'all back in here and maybe tomorrow. If not tomorrow, what is this? This is Tuesday. So I'm hoping to be back in here tomorrow. I'm going to be on another show on Thursday with Ty Alston. So I'll try and put that information out so you can check that out. He's a cool guy, and so that's going to be fun to be a part of. Thanks, Crazy Juice. Crazy Juice said, "Great show. Niners all damn day, baby." Yeah, we're riding no matter what. No matter what goes on. If you were following this team when Jim Tom Sula was the head coach, if you stuck with this team when when Mike Nolan was the coach and when Dennis Erickson was the coach, that was a long time ago. But man, those were some bad teams. And that Tom Sula team, that was just sad because that was right after we dealt with, had three great years and then one really injured year with Jim Harbaugh. And so those were great years. And then we followed that with Jim Tom Sula, who struggled to put words together. And then Chip Kelly the next year. So if you stuck with the team back then man, you are legit. You're a real fan because now that the team's good, everybody wants to be part of it. But the real fans are the ones that stuck it out through those tough days. And I know a lot of y'all were that way. So, hey, thanks for joining me. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next day or two.